Well, it's always difficult with President Trump to know exactly what are his intents behind his threats or his policy moves. At some points, you could think that he tries to obtain some bargaining leverage over its trade partners to obtain concessions in trade domains or other domains. At other points, you really feel like he thinks that punishing his trade partners is the right thing to do in order to make America great again in the trade domain. But for sure, the intent behind these threats of erecting huge tariffs barriers to trading with the US economy are to protect US jobs, to protect sectors of activity from foreign competitors, and of course to raise tax revenues in order to contribute to the strengthening of the American economy. If implemented as announced by the Trump administration, these tariffs would be reciprocal, which means that they would match the level of tariff protection applied by trade partners of the US economy, which are mainly China, Mexico, Canada, Vietnam, and the EU. The Trump administration pretends to have used a very sophisticated methodology to calculate this supposed level of tariff protection applied by the trade partners, mixing tariff protection, non-tariff barriers to trade, and currency manipulation. It's absolutely false. What they did simply is to take the level of trade deficit with each of these trade partners. They divided this amount by the total amount of imports coming from these 5 areas, and they multiplied the whole by 100 to obtain a percentage. This is completely out of reality and is based on no substantial economic finding. It's even crazier if you consider the health of the American economy, because all these threats are supposed to make America great again, as everything that President Trump is intended to do. But the American economy is in a pretty good health, full employment, inflation going back to the Fed's target of 2%, a good level of economic growth, a good level of economic dynamism, especially compared to other comparably rich countries. So there is absolutely no reason why these tariffs could be justified on this basis of boosting the performances of the American economy. Economists across the world have spent a lot of time for 2 centuries to try to explain that free trade is a win-win game. It's absolutely not a zero-sum game. Everyone can benefit from free trade, provided that it's implemented in the right conditions, which is approximately the case since World War II. It's absolutely ununderstandable why such a tariff war could contribute to make America great again. It will simply trigger a lose-lose situation in which trading partners will retaliate, as China has started to threaten. There is a pause in this threat proposed by the Trump administration, 3 months during which negotiations will probably start between the US and its trade partners. We will see what will come out of these negotiations. Some countries, and the EU, for example, propose simply 0-0 tariff protection situation, which would be, of course, a huge improvement in terms of freeing international trade. But it's very doubtful whether Trump administration, and especially the president himself, could accept such a proposal. We already see some consequences of these threats in financial markets, which are in turmoil across the world economy for a simple reason, which is that investors, beyond anything else, hate uncertainty. And these threats create a lot of uncertainties in the world economy, which makes it difficult for many people to take investment decisions. So stock markets everywhere are just losing huge parts of their value, up to 8 or 10%, which is extremely high over such a short period of time. We see other consequences for the American economy itself. Inflation was back to its target level of 2%, but now we have forecast of inflationary pressures up to 3 or 4% for the next year, if threats are effectively implemented. So necessarily so, the consequences will be negative for everyone, especially for the US economy. Something that observers and commentators do not notice is that if everything is implemented as threatened, for all America's trading partners, that will be tariffs applied by one of their trading partners. But if they retaliate, for the US economy, it will be tariff protections applied by all its main trading partners. So in this circumstance, it's absolutely unavoidable that the main impact will be felt by the US economy itself much more than by its trading partners. The only thing that could be discussed on a rational basis is the impact of these tariffs on foreign corporate actors that could be incentivized to move their production capacities from abroad to the US territory in order to avoid crazy levels of tariff protection. This is a good question. Maybe some of these firms will consider doing that. Some of them are already considering this option, but of course this is a very costly option, and this is an option moving production capacities and making huge investments in the US economy that will have consequences on a long period of time. And this is again a kind of uncertainty that corporate actors do not like, because they don't know how long these tariffs, if applied, will last. And if they take investment decisions over 10, 15, 20 years, it may be a very bad economic decisions if these tariffs are abandoned with the next US administration. Still, the economic perspective, this would be just micro impacts for some very specific actors, very specific activities, very specific jobs in the US economy. But all in all, at a macroeconomic level, the consequences could not be positive. And this is, of course, the most important thing to be considered.